Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Medicinal Melange podcast. I'm Elizabeth, a clinical herbalist, medical astrologer, and the friend who won't let you gaslight yourself out of your own brilliance. This is where we take the guesswork out of your wellness journey and take back your autonomy in healing your body, aligning with your chart, and shedding light on your highest self's actual timeline, not the one capitalism tries to rush you through. If you're into no BS astrology, radical self honesty, and levels of devotion to yourself you were told were too much, you're in the right place. I appreciate y'all being very patient as I came out with this next episode of Scorpio. For me, I have Pluto, which we do talk about a little bit today as one of the rulers of Scorpio, but I have Pluto in my sixth house. And anywhere Pluto is, depending on the house and the sign, is where we see this radical honesty and maybe really intense emotions around certain themes, depending on the house. And that's just where it is natally. Now, for everyone with Pluto transiting in Aquarius currently since last November, we see this shakeup in whatever house it is. So if you're an Aquarius rising, for instance, you will see just full tower moments, painful moments as far as your identity goes. If this is in your seventh house, or if you're with somebody who has Aquarius as their seventh house ruler, this is where we see transformations within the relationships, whether it be people you're sleeping with, right? Or that you're married to, not like casual, but like these deep committed relationships. But also, if you are a business owner and have a seventh house Aquarius, maybe your clients look completely different moving forward. So, wherever Aquarius is for you, that is where you are getting this glow up like no other. And first, in order for Pluto to help you have that glow up that lasts lifetimes, we first have to burn it all down to the ground. And that is where Pluto initiates the very signature painful Pluto aspect. For me, if you've been following along with my social media, I'm at the Medicinal Melange on everything. But if you've been following along with my socials, you know that recently, honestly, pretty much since last November, December, I've had this hard push on I want to get healthy. I want to start walking more. I was gaining a lot of weight, and because I am 6'4", it doesn't carry on me the same way as if I was 5'4", right? And so I find myself really digging deep and trying to find ways to exercise that's sustainable for me. Yes, I started at the gym. I do not like the gym. I have a lot of mental hangups about getting dressed and going to the gym and starting at the gym and moving from machine to machine. I don't know. It's just kind of like my own personal hang up about it. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate, hopefully. But I needed to stop that. So then when we moved, I found myself doing the gym less and less. And then sure as shit, just like clockwork, TikTok was like, well, don't you want to work out at home? And I was like, yes, I do, TikTok. Yes, I do. Now, I don't buy anything on Amazon. I haven't had a Amazon Prime membership since, honestly, right before the pandemic. I canceled it. So what was that, 2019? Yeah, the beginning of 2019. And so I pride myself on that, but at the same time, I buy a lot of stuff on TikTok. So I'm like, well, it's the devil, you know. But now that I'm considering getting off TikTok, which if you are considering that as well, or if you're off of it altogether, please let me know in the comments because I would love to have a discussion more about this. But yeah, so TikTok was like, how about, and then it's been little things at first, don't we want this red light therapy face mask? Yes, I do. Okay, next thing, don't we want, and it's just been little breadcrumbs. But then recently I bought this ab machine where you do crunches. And though it's been lovely, TikTok is like, oh, you're in a new price bracket. So now I'm getting don't you want to buy a reformer? And honestly, yes, I do want to buy a Pilates reformer, but I like my house to look like a museum. And if I bought a reformer, it's something that I couldn't hide away somewhere. So it's just the next level of commitment. But with that said, I have been regularly working out. I got a desk in my new office that raises to about 6 feet. So again, I'm 6'4". It's very helpful to have a desk that raises so tall. And then I stand on my walking pad in the morning and I try to walk for anywhere from 5,000 steps to 7,000 steps in the morning. And then in a perfect world, perfect day, I come downstairs, I have some coffee, and I do a little bit of exercise with weights. Now, if it's a busy day, like for instance, I have my Sun memberships, and some of my mornings start at 7 a.m. and don't end till 8 p.m. So, in between clients, I'm trying to fit in like maybe an episode of Real Housewives or something like that, right? And do a couple crunches or something like that on my exercise machines. So, that for me is how I am enjoying and hanging on to my Pluto in my sixth house, because the sixth house is a true house of health, but it's also our rhythm. Our Think of it like a drum beat, right? And the drum beat, we can't go all spasmataz on it. It's just got to be a rhythmic drum beat that is sustainable. And that's what Pluto is doing in my house of health. I'm not, thankfully, having to deal with anything so freaking serious yet, but I do have this inner rhythm that's like calling for more of a health aligned mindset. I'm also eating, like this morning I had protein pancakes with like this vegan protein powder that I really like. Although it turns my pancakes green, otherwise it's really cool and really good. So this year has been the year of, did you get enough protein? Which I'm totally sick of hearing about and talking about, but here we are. But this is how I am working with this energy. And as I've gone through the last 2 months since we last talked, almost 3 months, I have been incorporating that more and more. I've been looking for more of a work-life balance that is sustainable, because I tend to work so hard for 3 months and then have a mental fog for 2 weeks and then back to the grind and then back and forth, back and forth. And it's just not sustainable. I'd like to be able to have a daily, I work really hard from this time to this time, and then switch to my home balance and thriving at home and doing what I like there. So that is my goal. We have had so many astrological events happening since then that I don't even know where to start. So I thought I would share with what has been happening as it pertains to Pluto. Now, we had Mars squaring Pluto by transit this past week. So I stayed my ass home. I told my clients, hey, whatever you hear, chill out, don't jump to conclusions. Like, people are going to be saying some wild shit this week, and boy, did the internet not disappoint. And yeah, we're just here to witness, right? To witness what is going on right this second. I also got to spend time with my friends and do letter writing, and decided to incorporate that a little bit more into my day-to-day life. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to be 40, how I can maybe honor this inner elder that is coming out in different ways, in ways that align with me and my chart. So, with that said, let's go to one of the most resilient signs. Let's talk about Scorpio. So, the Scorpio type, if y'all could just turn it up slightly, right? I just need to tell you, whether you're Scorpio sun, moon, specifically rising, this episode is definitely a you episode. Or if you're like me and you have a stellium in Scorpio, I would just like to tell you and remind you that there's a difference between looking like you're in control and actually feeling safe inside your own body. The Scorpio type definitely knows that difference all too well. Maybe you've noticed it lately. The way that your body tenses when someone asks a personal question, the way your gut kind of gets all squirrely when you can't predict what is going to be coming next. God, I know that's definitely me. The way your hips hold on to emotion like a vault that hasn't been opened up in years. The Scorpio type tends to store and hold on to pain, to experiences that made them feel like they were too much. And you can see it in their signature stare as well, these deep, penetrating eyes. Scorpio typically has very thick hair as well. Maybe not like actually thick as far as the shaft is concerned, but they'll have a lot of hair and it's typically very coarse in nature. It's funny because I can normally see a Scorpio from a mile away, or when I'm watching my stories on the TV, I notice their eyes, and then typically they have the Scorpio nose. And then their hair, it's always heavy Scorpio placements, this hair, this beautiful, coarse, curly hair. If the Scorpio type had a signature hair color, it would definitely be tied to the planetary rulers of Scorpio, which are Pluto and Mars. And all that to say, unless genetics kick in, they typically have black or red hair. A perfect example of the Scorpio type, in my opinion, is Bonnie Raitt. If you've ever seen Bonnie Raitt, you know the type of hair, the type of nose, the type of eyes. To me, she's just a perfect Scorpio type. And hopefully y'all know who she is. I'll link one of her songs in the show notes or something just in case you are younger and unaware, because it's beautiful. Moving on to other signature Scorpio things. If you're a Scorpio rising or just have important Scorpio placements, I often see the need to keep things tucked behind layers of protection. Or if you have the psychology background that I do, isolation. The Scorpio type tends to have a wall around them or whatever they're trying to keep secretive. If Scorpio is your second house, it's your finances. If Scorpio, I mean, I could go on for days, but depending on where Scorpio is in your chart, that's what you're trying to keep under wraps. It might be because you fear it's too much. It might be fearing vulnerability. It doesn't really matter, but y'all have a wall, a bridge, a moat, forest with archers in the forest, and then it's like another tree line, a road, and down that road is where the entry gate is that you have other people. Like, that's what I'm talking about, where it has layers of protection, but it actually manifests as isolation until the body speaks louder than Scorpio's willpower. Then we see the Scorpio imbalances coming up. But today's episode isn't really about being the mysterious Scorpio or the magnetic Scorpio if you've mastered it. It's about power, yours, and how your body is holding place for every emotion you haven't really truly felt yet. So if you're the Scorpio type or someone who feels like your body is carrying more than your conscious mind can really process, this episode becomes that mirror. So when we're talking about Scorpio as it pertains to medical astrology, Scorpio rules over the excretory system, the sweat glands, the colon, the bladder, the cervix. So being like where babies exit, the uterus when it's empty, acne, the nose when it's drippy or just straight up runny, the prostate, the rectum. And if you go back to my episode on Taurus, Scorpio's sister sign, you know, Taurus rules over the mouth, the teeth, the throat, all of it. And whatever goes in Taurus comes out in Scorpio. Honestly, it's the easiest way to think of these two and their connection on their axis. Scorpios have this inner vitality that is unshakable. My witchling is a Scorpio and was very sick as a child. I know I've met lots of you all as clients in sharing this story. And I've met countless other Scorpios that, like her, face death and illness and then come back with stronger vitality than ever. That's why I think they are one of the strongest signs, because their ability to take it down to the studs and rebuild and have this intense transformation over and over again is what makes Scorpio so powerful. Now, if I've read for you and you have Scorpio in your first house or even like Pluto in your first house, I always tell you, like, I'm sorry. Because you're probably like, can I stop fucking transforming and just like be? Can I just not change everything over and over again? But that's the power within Pluto, one of Scorpio's ruling planets. The other, Mars, tends to throw toxins within the body from a medical astrology perspective. That's why the odors that naturally occur within Scorpio types are more often than not intense compared to somebody that doesn't have really heavy Scorpio placements, or things in the body are just a little bit more soupier than others. Scorpios tend to like intensely flavored foods, and I always wondered if it's the aromatics of it all that naturally call to a Scorpio style body. For instance, you crave water when you're dehydrated, or for me, I crave sugar when I'm starting to get sick. And honestly, I think it's because my immune system gets a little energy boost from it and then can like fight off whatever I have going on. But if we remember that everything that goes into Taurus ruled mouth comes out in the excretory systems of Scorpio, then we can kind of look at what we eat from a position of it going through the GI specifically. Again, Scorpios are a little soupier in certain areas than others and even have yeast and bacterial overgrowth in some areas. And because of that, we need herbs that help not only move waste, bacteria, etc. out of the body, but help soothe and continue to get out and detoxify the body. This is a fixed water sign and needs help moving the stagnation out, or else its own body system, even your lymphatics, become toxic. The Scorpio type does need herbs that support the nervous system. We also want to make sure we have hormonal balances and emotional release. So I love to start with bitter herbs of all varieties, but I love burdock root because it helps heal the colon in a way that is very special to the burdock root. It secretes this natural oil that helps coat the GI and get stagnation moving out of your body, but also heals over any sort of like ulcers or anything that you have inside your body. It is a lymphagogue. It releases skin conditions out of the body as well, like the scaly conditions. It helps get that stagnation that's causing it out of the body as well. It increases urine production, it moves stagnation, constipation. It's fabulous for constipation. Again, if we think back to that natural oil that it coats the GI in, it's going to get things moving out of your colon. Another herb I love is marshmallow root. This, again, soothes the GI. Most roots, for the most part, will get down in your GI. If you think of the body like a tree where it's sprouting out the top of your head, your roots are kind of going to be in that general area. But yeah, it helps move things during the digestion process, soothes the throat. So again, there's that Taurus Scorpio axis connection because it helps the excretory system of Scorpio and the throat of Taurus. Another Scorpio favorite of mine is the Smilax species. I like sarsaparilla. Here in Texas, we have the plant called greenbrier. I actually taught a class recently which was talking about the second spring that we have here in Texas, aka fall. But in Texas, it's a fabulous time to plant, grow, and harvest before we go into like actual cold season. So I always look for greenbrier locally. It's an alternative herb, so it does move shit out of your body, waste, toxins, all of that stuff, and creates more room for oxygenation, which in turn creates more ability, or rather, it helps with the circulation within the body. For those of you that are struggling with hormonal acne, this would also be your jam. It helps balance hormones whether you have a uterus or not. So get with an herbalist or a clinical herbalist like myself and find out if this specific herb is going to be best for you. So I definitely recommend aromatic herbs for Scorpios or the Scorpio types. Y'all naturally are called to these herbs, whether it be spicy or just even fermented things. I find that Scorpios tend to like horseradish, for instance. So there are actually two types of aromatic herbs. There's pungent aromatic and spicy aromatic. We talk about both kinds in my online herbalism course, The Green Path, but for today, I just want to focus on spicy aromatics because this is typically what we see in commerce. So peppermint, for example, will help sweat out toxins that Scorpio tends to trap within the body. When I was in Europe, there would be an aperitif that is served right before the meal, obviously, and involves some sort of mint because herbs like mint, a spicy aromatic, are going to help with the digestion process of the meal you're about to eat because aromatic herbs help with circulation and blood flow to the body. Spicy aromatic also help as diaphoretics, meaning it helps you sweat. So while you're sick because the Scorpio type kept all the nasty germs inside, this is a very helpful herb. And we can't just stop at herbs. Scorpio type's digestion is very deep and very slow. So we have to support the body through everyday foods as well, not just herbs. Scorpio types are prone to emotional eating or emotional fasting. Be sure to regulate your eating rhythm to stabilize your emotional body and kind of find the balance, because the body of the Scorpio type does not like chaos or erratic eating habits. When you're eating, focus on the liver and gut support. Deep green veggies, lemon water, beets, even artichoke is a bitter herb and also edible plant, and helps all areas of digestion as well as liver detoxification. Normally, I would definitely save that just for the Virgos in the room, but if it's hard to eliminate waste, this is a really great addition to your daily diet. We're also going to want to look for an increase in protein, I know, and grounding fats, because this helps the Scorpio type regulate your blood sugar and the mood swings as well. For me personally, when I was talking about having to get protein and protein and protein, I really fell in love with chia seeds or even hemp seeds, because that flax, any of those kind of seeds don't just help keep elimination of waste going, but they're also rich in plant-based protein, essential fats, they're high in fiber. It really makes them a powerful trifecta for both digestion and actual nourishment to the body. Similar to spicy foods, we want to increase fermented foods. So, fermented foods support deep gut healing and emotional detox as well. Plus, they help you with pH regulation in the body, so you're less soupy in certain parts, which is added bonus through and through. And if we're talking about adding things, sometimes we do need to cut things out of our diet. So, reducing inflammation triggers is very important for the Scorpio type. Processed sugar, alcohol, anything that you might binge to keep you numb, that is going to be the first thing I say, hey, let's think about removing or reducing that from our diet. And since we are talking about movement and moving towards the goals of eating right and getting the right herbs to support our Scorpio type body, Scorpio types don't need high energy workouts. I know that Mars is there. So you're like, but Mars, if you go back to the Aries episode, which Mars rules Aries as well, that was high impact training. Like, they wanted it. But the nuance of Pluto here means that they don't need high energy workouts. They need movement that lets them process the intensity without having to overly explain it or verbalize it at all if they don't want to. Scorpio types don't need to get it together in the workout and be pushed and pushed and pushed like you would see traditionally with other Mars placements like Aries. They need to be able to let something go when they work out. So, somatic releases. I do this with my clients. It's fabulous. I always recommend this for all types, but especially the Scorpio type. Slower strength training. Those reformers are looking better and better the more I put this all together. Lymph and emotional detox. I think I've seen other people explain this as rebounding. Depending on where you're at, you may or may not know that term. But yeah, we're just looking at lymph detox, but also emotional detox that comes with that. Yoga is a great slow movement that helps you release. I sat with my friend Leah, who runs Asana Awakening Project, and she did probably one of my favorite fucking yoga sequences. She did release of trauma through this hip sequence that focused directly on the root in the hip. And it was so beautiful and definitely helped me get out these deep, intense emotions that I couldn't verbalize. Now, why could I not verbalize it? If Gemini is my 10th house and I am here on a podcast doing all of this talking, well, the reason why these things are hard for me to verbalize is because my Pluto is in my 3rd house of communicating, of speaking, of publishing, all of these things. So though this is where my powerhouse is, it took a lot for me to get where I am today. I mean, even if you go back to the Say It With Your Chest episode, that was the first time I talked about that fucked up situation that I had in business and that betrayal that kept me quiet for so long. That was the first time I talked about it in almost 4 years. I mean, honestly, it had been that long. So to have me sitting in that class when I needed it most and helping me release that trauma, ugh, it fed my little Scorpio placements, my Scorpio stellium in the moment. Now, if you're like, I don't want to be slow and movement and present, right? Totally okay. Consider something that is related to martial arts or any sort of primal movement, because the Scorpio type wants to embody this transformative power. Now, we have gone over all the herbs, all the food, but at the end of the day, we want to look where Mars and Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio for you, are in your chart, because wherever they are, Mars gives you drive, why you get up in the morning. Pluto is going to give you depth. And so together they make you really unshakable, but not always soft. Scorpio types have got to learn to let the body feel safe without needing to be in control. I've met so many clients with blocked Scorpio suns or moons, or maybe just their rising is completely in their shadow period. They're mad at the same people and environments over and over and over, and they're trying to micromanage. They think the way to help the situation is to micromanage and control. And if they would just loosen the grip and let things play out as they should, they would have so much more personal power. And most importantly, so much less stress. Remember, Mars throws things within the body, and Mars is a very fiery sign. So we're keeping that stress, that tension, that fire in our body. And then next thing you know, we're put in a position where we have really high stress within our body that manifests in medical emergencies. So we want less stress. When we have a blocked or stagnant Scorpio placement, you think the perception is that you are controlling others, but that's not what's happening. You're just limiting yourself by gripping tighter to other people. You're attaching tighter to their shit and the things they have going on. And if you would just let go, you would embody the personal power that Pluto and Mars bring within Scorpio. And that's when the healing happens. Before I sign off, I want to pick a card for you. Just a reminder, every week I am at Deja Vu Esoterica for in-person readings if you're in the San Antonio area. If you're not in the San Antonio area, I do travel around Texas quite a bit. If you go to themedicinalmelange.com and click on in-person readings, I have astrology readings, both virtual and in person, but click in person and you can see where I will be throughout the current month that we're in. I also just launched the Moon membership. So if you're looking for a space that brings in community as well as your personal power and your personal, reclaiming of that power, the Moon membership is definitely where it's at. We gather as a group a few days before each full moon so we can explore the cycle ahead, leaning heavily into the woo-woo side, I will say, but in a safe space to do it. We're learning so much astrology and it is changing our lives, but sometimes we do not have safe spaces in our physical world to really celebrate those wins and celebrate those aha moments. So that's what I'm creating with these full moon gatherings. So that way we can meet as a community, but also we meet one-on-one for your own personal moon reflection moment. So we'll look at the chart. I teach you behavioral techniques to unblock stagnation in various parts of your life and help you live in the rhythm that the universe has been trying to teach you. So I definitely suggest that you head over to my website, themedicinalmelange.com. And if you just scroll on that homepage, it's in bright purples and pinks and blues. And it's called the Moon membership. And that is going to be a monthly membership that you can sign up for. So definitely go check it out. As far as today's specific card that I want you to think about, I've actually pulled nature. And now this card is really beautiful. It has this woman that is swimming in nature, but I feel like it represents in this moment Scorpio's duality. The duality of the fire of Mars and Pluto's transformative power in this water sign. So that way we can take all of this fire energy that maybe we have land side, right? Earth side, and then go deep into our subconscious of Pluto and come back out not only restored and balanced, but also with this new aha kind of clarity within us. So if you have time this week, definitely touch grass, get in nature. If you have a body of water and it is not ice cold where you live, so, Texas, it's still 90 degrees right now. Go ahead and put your feet in some water and kind of learn to ground and release within the water. So that way you can let go of maybe feelings around control, feelings around stress, feelings around micromanaging. So that way you can learn to loosen your grip a little bit and embody more of this Scorpio deep healing and transformation. All right, y'all. I will see you next week for our Sagittarius episode. I appreciate y'all that have been waiting. I know I have some of the most important people in my life, my witchling included, are Scorpios. And I'm sorry it took so long, but I'm glad we're here. I'm glad that I have Pluto transiting my 6th house so that way I can have a better work-life balance and ensure that these get out to you every week. And with that, I will see you next time. Bye, y'all.